Happy holidays and good evening to the citizens of Portsmouth, my colleagues on council, city staff, and invited guests. Welcome to our city council meeting. I would ask everyone to please stand for a moment of silence, and afterwards we will follow it up with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again, and I would ask my colleagues to please note your attendance electronically.
7 members of City Council are present.
Thank you. We do have the minutes of a special call meeting on 11/21/2023, and a called meeting on 11/28/23, and a regular meeting on 11/28/23. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
Second.
I would ask my colleagues to vote electronically.
Councilman Barnes. The minutes are adopted 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on with our agenda, we do have a presentation at this time, 2 presentations. So I would ask, first of all, of Ms. Wilma Horn to come forward, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a proclamation to recognize one of our wonderful citizens of the city of Portsmouth. Whereas Miss Wilma Olivia Harper Horn has lived by her philosophy since her early youth, if anybody can do it, I can do it too. And whereas a native of Portsmouth, Virginia, Ms. Harper Horn graduated from I.C. Norcom High School in 1960, Hampton University in 1964, with a major in mathematics and a minor in physics, and in 1968 with a master in master's education. Following a 1969 summer of postgraduate study in computer-oriented mathematics at the University of Connecticut at Storrs, she left her teaching career of 6 years with Chesapeake Public Schools for the next 30 years in information technology for major corporations. And whereas a world traveler, Ms. Harper Horn was a member of a U.S. computer science delegation to Western Europe and Russia in 1982. She was asked also to be a member of a second delegation in 1984 to Japan, Hong Kong, and Korea. In total to date, she has traveled to 63 countries, all 50 states, and all 7 continents. And whereas since retirement in 1999, Ms. Harper Horn has been enjoying some long overdue time with her family and pursuing her passions for traveling, gardening, and cooking. And whereas in 2017, Hampton University renamed its Science and Technology building the Wilma Harper Horn Hall in her honor. Now, therefore, I, Shannon E. Glover, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, do hereby recognize Ms. Wilma Olivia Harper Horn in Portsmouth and urge our citizens to join me in honoring and celebrating the tenacity and commitment of this community member. In witness Whereof, and on behalf of the Portsmouth City Council, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Portsmouth, Virginia, to be affixed this 12th day of December, 2023. Thank you, ma'am. Congratulations. We do have another presentation. I could ask Coach Thomas to come up. Coach Thomas. Coach Thomas is president of the Portsmouth Bruins Football Association and Pop Warner Football. And we want to recognize Coach Thomas and his team tonight. So, Coach, I know you have some words to share with the community of these young men's accomplishments. Come on over, guys. Come on over, guys.
Thank you so much to the mayor and to other members of the city council. Thank you for allowing us to come and recognizing us. This is the 9-year-old Bruin team. They are Virginia State champs, Mid-South Region champs, and they are one of the top 4 teams in the nation. And lastly, scored over 300 points and only allowed 40. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, Coach, you know, I think it all starts with the coaching and the leadership and the families who support these young men, young people. And I just want to say on behalf of the Portsmouth City Council, this is Portsmouth, this is who we are. And I want to congratulate each and every one of you young men to continue to work hard, to dream and follow your dreams and listen to your coach, and everything good will happen to you. Thank you and happy holidays. Thank you. Good job. 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 Thank you again, Coach.
Small fish in this pond. Very small.
Thank you all again, and Madam Clerk, would you please read our speaker statement?
Now? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light and hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the City Council as a body rather than to any particular member of City Council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, ma'am. We have now come to the item public hearing Item 23-402. Item A, UP-23-13. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing resolution we're considering at this time?
Yes, sir. Resolution granting the request of Keystone Investment Firm LLC for a use permit to develop 7-unit multifamily dwelling on the combined .449 acre parcel located at 2520 Turnpike Road and 2527 Moulton Street in the General Mixed Use Zoning District. The future land use map of the Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for a mixed-use corridor. The properties are owned by Keystone Investment Firm, LLC. Planning Commission recommends approval. And the actual resolution reads, a resolution granting a use permit, UP 2313, to Keystone Investment Firm, LLC, to develop a multifamily dwelling having not more than 7 units on approximately .5 combined acres located at 2527 Moulton Street and 2520 Turnpike Road.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you today?
We're great, how are you?
Very good. So you have 10 minutes for your presentation?
Well, I don't think it'll take that long, but good evening to everyone.
Yes,
And,
sir.
and
If
thank-
you would state your name and address and speak into the microphone, please, sir.
My name is Berlardo Costin. I'm here with my partner, Brenton Hill, and we're here to have a discussion about the project that we're trying to develop on Multi and Turnpike. We've been working closely with the city planners about trying to develop this piece of property. It's really an eyesore for your community, and just to make a long story short, you know, we've been working closely with them. They have pretty much approved for a user's permit, and it should generate some additional funds, you know, for the city. It's a long process, but like we were just saying earlier, it was just something that we can do to help the community, help build up the community, generate some additional funds for the city. So we're just here to answer any questions that you may have, and you know, we appreciate you guys taking the time to review this. And we can answer any questions that you may have for us.
Thank you both. Are there any questions for these two gentlemen from my colleagues on council? Seeing none, we thank you for your presentation. You may have a seat.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen,
Motion
this,
to approve.
hold on, sir. We have to give people an opportunity to speak. This is a public hearing, ladies and gentlemen, and as such, you are not required to have signed up to speak on this item. If you wish to speak on this item, you can come forward. You will have 5 minutes, and you must speak specific to what this item is, okay? So if you come forward, you can speak on this item, state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Pamela Anstead, 1919 Atlanta Avenue. I was just wondering, 7 units mean 7 apartments? Just 7 single apartments, or 7 units meaning more apartments in each unit?
Gentlemen,
Because
would
I'm
you,
trying to figure out,
wait, hold on, ma'am. Sir, could you come forward and address that real quick, please?
how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm fine.
I'm Berlardo. It is a 7-unit apartment. It's not individuals, it's a unit.
So there's more than one apartment
Thank you,
in
sir.
each unit?
It's a building.
Okay, 7 buildings.
7 units in one.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you step away from the mic? Let him answer the question. I think you posed the question. Would you please speak into the microphone?
It is a 7-unit, one building, 7-unit apartment. So there's 7 apartments in one building.
One unit.
One building, 7 apartments.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
sir.
it's only 7 apartments?
That is correct.
All right, I like to get one.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, this is a public hearing. You are not required to have signed up to speak on this public hearing item. If you come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes. Are you not coming forward, sir?
Oh, I was going to tell DeAndre Barnes it was called a question.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Seeing no other speakers coming forward, this public hearing is closed. My council colleagues, we are in need of a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, I would ask my colleagues to please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
We've now come to item B, UP-23-22. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing resolution we are considering at this time?
Yes, sir. A resolution granting the request of Tanita Brinkley for a use permit to operate an entertainment establishment on approximately 9.48 acre parcel located at 4010 Victory Boulevard, Suite B, in the General Mixed Use Zoning District. The future land use map of the Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for commercial use. The property is owned by Victory Crossing Marketplace, LLC. The Planning Commission recommends approval. The actual resolution reads, a resolution granting a use permit, UP 2322, to Tanita Brinkley to operate an event space banquet hall in Suite B at 4010 Victory Boulevard.
Good evening, Ms. Brinkley.
Good evening.
Good,
Mayor.
good. Could you state your name and address?
Yes, Tanita Brinkley, 6202 North Military Highway.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And so you have 10 minutes to present to us. You don't have to take the whole 10 minutes. If you don't need to, that's just what's allotted to you. So you
Yes,
have the
ma'am.
floor, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm here with my partner. We together have opened, plan to have an event center in the city of Portsmouth so that we can allow people to have weddings, banquets, baby showers, church conventions, and such. And the reason we called it luxury affairs is because we wanted to just attract a particular audience in an upscale fashion to bring mature celebrations to the city of Portsmouth.
Okay, go ahead. Is there any more you wanted to say towards your presentation?
Yep, and we also recognize that there was a desire for smaller churches being built in the city, so we able to have repast services there and things like that could cater to churches that don't have conference halls and things like that in the community.
Okay, thank you. And were there any questions from my colleagues on council? One question I did have, I saw in the documentation, you all are going to be open from 7 a.m. to midnight?
So our office hours are 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. We'll have
Okay.
a staff member on site for viewings and showings.
Okay.
For bookings, when a client wants to book a wedding, for instance, the decor person will need ample hours in order to set up the affair. So we just allow them as much time as they want to. No one ever comes at 7. No one will ever come at 7 a.m. We just wanted to let them know that we'll give them enough time to set up.
Well, thank you very much for clarifying that. And if there are no questions from my colleagues, so thank you for your presentation, and we'll proceed with the public hearing.
Thank you,
If you would
Mayor.
be seated.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. We do have a registered speaker. The registered speaker is not accepting the speaker role at this time. If there are any other citizens in the audience who wish to come and speak on this public hearing item, if you would come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes. Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. To my colleagues on council, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, would you please vote electronically?
This item is adopted 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item, item C, CA 2023-03. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing ordinance we are considering at this time?
Yes, sir. Ordinance granting the request of the City of Portsmouth to amend City Code Chapter 40.2, zoning ordinance to remove privately operated correctional facilities from the definition of the correctional facility use, prohibit privately operated correctional facilities within the city, and such additional modifications as may be deemed appropriate. The Planning Commission recommended approval. The actual ordinance reads an ordinance amending and reordaining tables 40.2-216 use table and 40.2-3011 minimum off-street parking standards, section 40.2-212 public and institutional uses, and article 6, Section C, definitions of Chapter 40.2 of the Code of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, as amended for the purpose of prohibiting privately operated correctional facilities within the city.
Thank you, ma'am, and good evening, Ms. Chop.
Good evening,
You have the floor.
Mayor Glover, Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, and City Council members. I'm Julie Chop, Manager of Current Planning and Zoning with the Portsmouth Planning Department. This presentation will provide details on the proposed code amendment to the city's zoning ordinance. Staff determined that there were several modifications to zoning standards related to correctional facilities that are appropriate. The current definition of the correctional facility use includes both privately and publicly operated facilities that house individuals awaiting trial or serving a sentence after being found guilty of a crime. A correctional facility requires a city council approved use permit and may only be requested for a property that is in the industrial or light industrial zoning districts. Numerous studies have shown that the private for-profit correctional facility model encourages the business to cut corners, which can affect inmate safety and quality of life. In addition, private jails are a large institutional use that have a significant impact on the local community and do not provide significant community and employment benefits compared to other uses of similar scale. Staff requested that the Planning Commission initiate amendments to the zoning ordinance to prohibit private correctional facilities in order to preemptively mitigate and minimize the potential negative impacts of the use on surrounding land uses. Planning Commission adopted a resolution initiating these amendments at their October 3rd meeting. And the proposed zoning ordinance amendment language is shown on this slide. The amendment would prohibit privately operated correctional facilities within the city by removing privately operated correctional facilities from the definition and revising the correctional facility use to public correctional facility. Public jails are an unfortunate necessity. However, a private jail is an inappropriate use for the city where much of the land is already developed, as it would put additional strain on city resources and bring little economic benefit. The planning staff recommends approval of the proposed amendments in order to mitigate and minimize the impacts on surrounding land uses and protect the interests of the citizens and businesses while also maintaining the health, safety, and welfare of the public. This concludes my presentation, and I'll stand by for any questions.
Are there any questions from my colleagues on council? Seeing none, Ms. Chop, thank you for your presentation, ma'am. This is a public hearing. We do have a registered speaker, Mr. Gomez. You declining, okay. Are there any other citizens in the audience who wish to come and speak on this public hearing item? Seeing none, this public hearing item is closed. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second. Would you please vote electronically? I did leave out discussion, but I see that probably want to forego the discussion.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. We've now moved to the agenda item unfinished business. item 23-306. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering for unfinished business?
Yes, sir. An ordinance to amend and reordain Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, by adding a new Article 19 regarding the Portsmouth Community Broadband Network Authority.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote
I
electronically.
have a request to speak
Oh.
button.
Is there any
Yes, please.
discussion? I didn't see anything come up on my screen, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be voting no on this issue, on this item, just due to comments that I've made before, back on the October 10th meeting, in regards to allowing members of council to serve. In regards to the city attorney's letter and opinion that she provided to council on yesterday, it stated that there was no conflict for members of council to serve, even though it was inferred or implied by certain members of council that there was a conflict. So I will be voting no on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would ask everyone to please vote electronically, or is there additional discussion? Did somebody raise their hand? Okay, Dr. Whitaker, so you have it.
Oh, I just-
It's not showing up on my
Okay,
screen,
no-
that's why I'm sorry.
No
Because I'm
problem.
trying to look to see if it's showing up.
No problem. I just want to say I concur with Mr. Tillage, and we'll be voting no as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other comments from my colleagues? Okay, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 4-3.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item, City Manager's Report, item 23-403. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering for this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance amending and reordaining Section 32-59, application for permit, applicant's bond, and 32-61, schedule of fees and charges of Article 2, right-of-way permit, and Chapter 32, street, sidewalk, and local improvements of the Code of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, for the purpose of revising the bonding and right-of-way permitting structure for utility providers.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, would you please vote electronically?
This item is adopted 7-0.
Item 23-404. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering for this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting Title IV pass-through training funds in the amount of $17,885 from the Virginia Department of Social Services and appropriating said amount in the FY 2024 Social Services Fund for Child Welfare Training.
Thank you. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, would you please vote electronically?
This item is adopted 7-0.
Item 23-405. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering for this item?
An ordinance accepting with appreciation a donation in the amount of $100 from Tidewater Baptist Women Missionary and Education Convention and appropriating said funds in the FY 2024 Social Services Fund for use by the Department of Social Services to support foster children at Christmas.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for second.
Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Madam Clerk, the next item, 23-406. Would you please read the ordinance we are considering at this time?
An ordinance accepting settlement funds in the amount of $23,849.79 from the National Opioids Abatement Trust 2 and appropriating said amount in the FY 2024 Behavioral Healthcare Services Fund for use by BHS for approved abatement purposes as defined by the Virginia Opioid Fund and Settlement Allocation, MOU.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Is there any additional discussion on this item? Please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Item 23-407, and Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering at this time?
Yes, sir, an ordinance appropriating $1,500,000 from the fund balance of the Behavioral Health Care Service Fund to the FY 2024 Behavioral Health Care Service Fund budget for the purpose of acquiring 2001 through 2011 Queen Street, and utilizing said property as additional office space for the Department of Behavioral Health Care Services.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 23-408, and Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution we are considering at this time?
Yes, sir, a resolution to adopt the 2024 calendar of city council meetings.
Do we, council members, do we have a motion and a second?
Move for adoption.
Is there any additional discussion on this item? Please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
We have now come to the item of new business, boards and commissions, item 23-409. And Mr. Moody, do we have any boards or commissions?
No, Mayor, there are no appointments under consideration.
Thank you, sir. Our next item, item 23-410, items submitted by council members. Are there any items submitted by council members? Councilman Tillage, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of a few items that I would like to speak on this evening. The first one being an issue that I brought up during the work session in regards to the Juvenile Detention Center. Based on new information on us having to have consensus to have report backs, I would like to have a consensus of council to ask the city manager to report back on an update on the plans for the Juvenile Detention Center as we work towards the end goal, which we all know what the end goal is, but there should be a plan in between because as we know that there is a urgent need for juvenile detention center right now for our juvenile delinquents. And if not addressed, it could turn into a public safety issue. The Vice Mayor and myself were able to meet with Judge Griffin just about over a week ago, and she really put upon council that it is the city's responsibility to find appropriate housing for our juveniles that are in these facilities. Of course, we know that Portsmouth, we don't have one right now. And so if we can please get a consensus of council to be able to have the city manager report back to council on a plan and update for this issue.
Thank you, sir. Is there any additional discussion on the request of our colleague, Councilman Tillage? If we could then call for a consensus by a show of hands of those individuals that are requesting the report back on the status that was requested.
All right, thank you. My next item is in regards to a handbook for city council. I think this past year we've had a lot of learning lessons in the city of Portsmouth, and I think it's very important for council to educate themselves on what their role is of council and to be reminded what our role is of council, but also to outline the responsibilities and the responsibilities of our city council appointees as well. And I think it's good to have this information to keep not only us abreast, but to keep our city council appointees abreast, as well as the public. In addition of that handbook, having information in there that pertains to not only how meetings are run, but also policies that pertain to city council, such as our credit card transactions. I think it's very important that as elected officials and as stewards of our dollars, that we are reminded of what those are. And so the City of Newport News, they are currently working through the process of adopting a handbook that talks about the responsibilities, the actions that council is supposed to take, as well as the actions and expectations of our council appointees. And so if it is the pleasure of council for us to be able to work with our city attorney, our city clerk, as well as our interim manager, to be able to develop this handbook. And a lot of this information from speaking with our clerk is actually already in place. It just needs to be put into one booklet. And so if we could work towards having that put together between now and the next meeting, which segues me into the, if we can work towards having some information pertaining to it by the next meeting, which is in January, which segues me into the next situation. As we've seen in the newspaper last month, there was an issue when it came to sponsorships. And so I think it's very important that the city council develop a policy pertaining to how money is provided to nonprofits for charitable giving, but also for sponsorships. And so looking at different policy plans that the city of Norfolk has, city of Newport News has just developed, as well as city of Williamsburg. This is not an issue that's just centralized to the city of Portsmouth, but it is definitely something that I think that city council needs to get a hold on. And so if it is the pleasure of council, if working with the interim city manager, the city attorney and council to put together a proposed policy for sponsorships. I know Councilman Moody had asked several weeks ago for guidelines pertaining to sponsorship and how the guidelines for those were determined, but also he asked for recommendations for how we can put together sponsorship policies. And so not really having those conversations, I think is imperative for council to begin that action of developing this type of policy. And so I will send to council the policies that the city of Norfolk, the city of Newport News, and surrounding cities have put in place regarding nonprofit giving as well as sponsorship giving. So if it is the pleasure of council, if we can have a consensus for us to be able to move forward in this direction as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor, and then we'll deal with your request, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. To my colleague's suggestion on a handbook for council members, actually, VML has a handbook outlining the duties and responsibilities of a member of council. It's considered, I think, the Bible, if you may.
It is.
Of city council. And if there's consensus, I would like for maybe the city clerk can get a copy for each of the council members. That is an excellent book. So if there is a consensus, Mayor.
So let's deal with the first order of business. I understand what you're saying in terms of what Councilman Tillage has called a consensus for. And one of the things I just want to just add, yes, let's just call a consensus for his request. And can we add, would it be acceptable to add to your request, sir, for the booklet or the information regarding the roles, to add the VML booklet to that? Would that be fine to add that, sir?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think it's important to have that because it's still state code.
Right,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that was
Yeah, that
acceptable.
in addition to.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we'll ask that everyone get a copy of that booklet in addition to moving in the direction of providing us information on an appropriate handbook for us to review. Can I get a show of hands on that consensus request? Okay. And sir, your second consensus, I'm sorry, if you could, I know it was about.
It was in regards to sponsorship policies as well as
Yes.
giving to nonprofits.
Yes, so if we could get a show, and I know Mr. Moody has raised that question before, and so if we could get a show of hands for a consensus of bringing back information relative to a policy.
So we've had two consensus on that, so maybe
Okay.
maybe we can
Well,
get some action on it.
it's fine, but the consensus carries on that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you both for your input. Are there any more pending items by council?
Did he do the juvenile detention?
Yeah, that was the
He
first.
did take, okay.
Seeing none?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Dr. Whitaker, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, 3 items that I want to submit. The first is regarding the report back from the city attorney and the Elizabeth Manor Golf Course compliance review that we received today. And I do have some comments, questions. First of all, in your report, city attorney, you mentioned that there was no nefarious activity that was involved, no nefarious intent.
I was quoting what the Department of Treasury individual noted from his experience reviewing it. That was not my finding. Yes.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that in contacting the Department of Taxation for the compliance review, it was not trying to uncover any type of nefarious intent. So I just want to make sure, so they weren't looking for nefarious intent because that wasn't the purpose of contacting them. It was, I contacted them because you will remember initially that it was stated that there was not enough information because documents were missing, and therefore there couldn't be a conclusion made in regards to whether the Elizabeth Manor Golf Course and the city assessor's actions were they correct or not.
Right.
And so it wasn't any nefariousness that was
Right.
involved.
I only asked that as part of the report back because the request for remedies beyond just what was in the code. And so when we looked at that, we were looking at, was there any other causes of action that the city could take based on what we had? And the only way that would be present if we had evidence of some sort of collusion or something to that effect. And so we asked the expert to evaluate that based on what he had, and that's why I included it.
Okay, well, right, so none of that information was in there anyway?
Right.
Okay, and then I noticed in your report, you use the term error and erroneous throughout your report as far as the conduct, that there were errors that were made. And I just want to point out that the statement that came from the Department of Taxation did not have any type of language that said error. It mentioned that the city acted improperly. And I think terming it as error versus improperly, that's just a issue I just want to raise, that one implies that there may have been some intent and other that there may not have been. So I think improper and erroneous, I'm just bringing that up to your attention.
If I can explain that,
Okay.
the error was in the failure to assess. And so that's where I was pointing to the error. When they talk about improper, they're talking about the steps that should have been taken to evaluate whether the appropriate assessments were done. So I was using it in the context of the abatement and the exemptions over time as connected to them not, as the assessor's office not properly following the
Right.
improper the steps that were followed.
Right, I just wanted to make sure it was clear that it didn't say it was erroneous, that it says the city improperly classified the portion of the Elizabeth Manor.
Which
So-
resulted in the erroneous assessment of abatement, and that's why it's sort of the end result of the
Okay.
improper action. That's what I was looking
Okay,
at.
all right. And then your conclusion, you said that there were, I think, no other legal remedies. You said there were no other legal remedies available to
To
the
this
city.
council.
Right,
Right.
okay. What about equitable remedies?
I'm a lawyer, I only deal with the law, and so I wouldn't know any other, I think, as we're talking about Sugar Hill, and we had an equity expert come and talk about those types of things, I could not even begin to address what that would look like. Again, you know, the city is my client, and I am limited ethically on what I can advocate for the client to do. And so what I looked at is what was in my purview. What can this council do under the law? And what they could do, I listed here, which is the 3-year rollback.
Right.
Everything else, that's policy, and that would have to come from council or an expert in that area. But legally, that's the only thing that's available to us at
Right,
this
so
time.
the monetary remedy would be going back 3 years to collect those taxes as would have been assessed under the open space use agreement.
Right, as the Dillon rules state, we are limited in our actions allowable under the code, and the code only allows us for monetary remedies, and that would be 3-year, current tax year plus 3.
Okay, and so from equitable, I was looking at that from a non-monetary, and so as far as the continuance in that open space program, is that an issue because of the fact that it does talk about when taxes are delinquent, that forfeits the continuance in that open space program? And you don't have to answer it tonight. That's just an equitable issue I was thinking that could be considered as far as the continuance in the program. And you, like I said, you don't have to answer it tonight.
Right,
I can report
okay.
it back. Yeah.
I will, I'll think on that and then get back to you on
Okay,
that. Yes,
all
sir.
right, thank you. And then the next issue, we had some discussion, this for the interim city manager, we had some discussion in the past pertaining to the homeless assistance facility, where it be a one-stop housing individuals and providing services there, mental health, employment. Where are we as far as that structure coming into reality?
The commission or the group meets monthly, so I will have to provide an update because I know they were in the planning phase. I know they had drawing up because you all wanted an additional, you added some additional floors, an additional floor. So I can provide that in a report back on where we stand and the status of that.
Okay, all right. Do we need a consensus on that?
No, sir, we don't need a consensus on that.
Oh, okay.
No, we really don't need a consensus on that.
Okay.
But thanks
all
for
right. I just
asking.
want to make sure. All right. Then the Sugar Hill, the Sugar Hill, can we get an update on where we are on the Sugar Hill?
We will have that after the new year. We're continuing to put together the information that the resources I explained to you last time have given us, and we've been
right.
looking through that. We should have something
When you say after the new year, what time period are you talking about?
Let's say first week of February. We'll shoot for the first week of February.
Okay. So the first
Late-
meeting,
First
you'll
meeting in
report
February,
first
that's
meeting.
correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Moody, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to do a follow-up with the city attorney. I think in the report that she supplied council with on the open space interpretation, didn't you also say that in that report that the interpretation of open space occurred over a few past administrations and assessors? That is correct?
That is correct, yes.
Just wanted to note that in the minutes,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Thank you, sir. Our next, are there any more report on pending items? Well, I just want to, as the mayor, to wish everyone a happy holiday, a safe, enjoyable time during this wonderful time of the year. And we look forward to seeing everybody in the new year at our first council meeting. Report on pending items, item 23-411. Ma'am, do you have any report on pending items?
No, sir.
Our next item is item 23-412, non-agenda speakers. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the speaker's statement?
Yes, excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, city council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep. We ask you to please conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the city council as a body rather than any particular member of city council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our first speaker is Mr. Bruce Lalonde. Mr. Lalonde, if you state your name and address, sir, you will have 5 minutes.
Thanks, Mayor. Vice Mayor, members of council. Bruce Lalonde, and I'm the president of Safety Town, and we're located, of course, at 4400 Deep Creek Boulevard, and I'm here to talk about the great year we had at Safety Town. We enjoyed a great year, and we have one concern that I'll talk about later that we're facing regarding the 4,000 public school students that we educate annually. Working with guidance and vision provided by Police Chief Steve Jenkins, and in collaboration from Sheriff Michael Moore and Fire Chief Dester Managbut, we are providing the school superintendent Eli Bracey through our advisory committee and dedicated volunteers, and I have one of our lead volunteers here, Miss Margie Stevenson. We provide the safety instruction needed to satisfy all standards of learning objectives for pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, stranger danger, and most recently, gun awareness instruction for public school kindergartners, first graders, and third graders. With funds provided by our Safety Town nonprofit, during this year we built a new exhibit. We replaced and repaired all bicycles that are used by the third graders. We bought new bicycle helmets for all the third graders. And this past year, we provided safety funding to various organizations throughout the city. Craddock Baptist Church needed some help with locks to replace at their church. West Haven Baptist Church needed mats for their Karate for Kids program. Craddock Skate Park, as you know, a skate center had a pipe burst, so we helped them with the repairs because they do such great things with the kids with the skate park out of Craddock. Portsmouth Catholic Regional School wanted to start a safety patrol program, so we provided funds to help them with their safety patrol program. Mercy Drops Dream Center, which is a tremendous part of ours, needed help with providing help to the children here during Christmas and Thanksgiving. Y'all gave us the opportunity to sponsor the 150th anniversary of the Portsmouth Police Department at City Park. And lastly, at our Safety in the Streets, we recognized 6 Portsmouth employees who epitomized in their daily lives the safety awareness toward Portsmouth citizens and public school students. Chief Jenkins has been a tremendous supporter of Safety Town, and we appreciate it. He brought out a couple times about 25 volunteers, replaced doors on 5 of our buildings, repaved and restriped all the roads at our miniature village, power washed all our buildings, and renewed that commitment of the Portsmouth Police Department to Safety Town. Lastly, in partnership with the Society for the Preservation of Portsmouth Arts, we added 2 safety murals that highlight the safety that's needed by children within the schools. But I leave, again, with a good year, but one concern, one big concern. The last year, the police department has asked us to introduce to the kids Eddie the Eagle program about gun safety awareness. This past fall, we brought that program to 842 third grade students. These are 7 and 8-year-old children. We asked them a couple questions, which was out of the norm, and we just wanted to get a feel for what it felt like, how we were doing out there in the city with these young people. We asked them how many of them knew that in their house that there was a weapon or a gun, and about 50 to 60% of the hands went up. I'm not here to talk about the Second Amendment or whether people should have guns or not. We're just aware that these children know that there's guns in their house. With their hands up, we asked them the question, how many of y'all have touched that gun without your parent being around? and too many hands stayed up. All right. And so we're here just to ask council and your support, lock the guns up. Just let parents know that these kids that are 7 and 8-year-olds know they're there, and we need to make sure that we have a strong awareness about gun safety in the city. Right. That's all I have. Thank you very much. And I'll entertain any questions.
Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, Ms. Lalonde.
Yes,
Just
sir.
curious, the nonprofit organizations and churches that you funded, how do you make that information available to the community as far as those funds being available?
We put it out through our advisory committee to go out, and we talked to.
I'm sorry.
We have an advisory committee of about 15 folks, so we asked the advisory committee to put it out. We also we talk to Civic League meetings on a periodic basis. We talk to other groups on a periodic basis. We talk to churches on a periodic basis, and we solicit to all those groups if they need help. Okay. We have put it on. I have a LinkedIn page. We have put it on our LinkedIn page, and we've done as much as we can as a nonprofit. Since we are limited, we don't have a social media expert. So everything that we're doing, and this has only been in the last year, we have limited funds. And so we're just trying to keep it as close hold as we possibly can.
Those funds are, where's the source of those funds? I know you get
through the nonprofit, the 501(c) that we have set up.
Some of it city funds?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wait, sir, I do have one question. First of all, thank you and the team at Safety Town. You guys do amazing work. In addition to that, what accommodations do you guys have for special needs children there?
I don't know how to answer that. I have to get back with you on that.
Okay,
we have all the instructions that we do. The building is ADA certified, so we know the building itself is. Okay. Obviously, with the bicycles, they can't ride the bicycles. But we have other activities that children with disabilities can use.
Okay.
First of all, they get to us by bus. So they come to us by city bus. So whatever accommodations are done at the school to put them on the bus, we just support it after that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Lalonde, for the
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
presentation. With the program with locking up the guns, I believe there was a program with the Portsmouth Police Department that they were offering, I guess, a lockbox or something.
ma'am.
Is there a partnership available? I don't know, with city manager, that they could work with Safety Town since they provide this type of awareness for families and children. I mean, some parents, I guess they don't think they need a lockbox and probably don't want to invest. I don't know how much it
And that's what we're
costs.
asking, Vice Mayor. There needs to be a level of visibility raised above the 7 and 8-year-olds that are there. We have gun locks available on site. Obviously, we're not going to ask the children whether they want to take gun locks with them.
Right.
But as I said, this is the one concern. In the spring, we're going to be talking to the kindergartners and the first graders, and we're going to be asking them that same question. All right, so as I said, we had 842 students, and there was just too many of them that had their hands up.
Right. But is there a partnership with, our police department where they could work with Safety Town to try to get some of the families a lockbox?
They have them available.
We have
They
gun
have
locks available.
Okay. Why aren't they being issued? I mean, I guess you don't have a revenue or an avenue to get them to the families.
No, ma'am,
Because
we
if
do
you're
not.
talking to the
No, ma'am, we do not.
kids, I guess that's confidential too.
Yes,
Because
ma'am, that's
they're
correct. We asked
trusting
the
you to say
teachers to
that you
take that
have it.
information back to the school, and the school system
Yeah.
has to do something with that
Okay.
information.
Well,
Right. The awareness needs to reach beyond Safety Town.
Yes,
then.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, that's what we're asking.
Thank you.
and Madam Attorney, I think, wanted the
Yeah,
floor, then
just wanted-
Dr. Whitaker.
I just want to jump in there. I understand Safety Town is a 501c3, but I do
No,
want.
ma'am, no, ma'am. The Safety Town is an element of the police department.
I see.
2 years ago, we set up, as a separate group of folks, set up a 501(c) to support Safety
Oh,
Town.
for the funding.
Yes, ma'am.
But I do want to remind you that when you work with children, there is a duty to report, and I think this problem that you have brought up could fall under that, so you should talk to your staff about that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes, ma'am, we'll do that. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
So, Mr. Lund, you mentioned earlier you don't get any city funding, but you say you're an element of the police department?
The nonprofit does not receive any funding.
Safety Town itself,
Safety Town itself is an element of the police department, yes, sir.
so it gets city funding?
I'm assuming so, sir. I don't have anything to do with that budget.
And so school board, do you get any school board funding?
No, sir.
You know,
No, sir, we're all volunteers, sir.
No, I'm not
We're
talking
volunteers.
about you individually. I'm talking about the organization. Yeah. So, all right, thank you.
All right, sir, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sherman Tyler. Mr. Tyler, sir, if you would come forward, state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes.
Hello, how y'all doing today?
Good, sir.
Right. My name is Sherman Tyler. I live at 1812 Parker Avenue, Portsmouth, Virginia. I'm here tonight. I got a lot to say, and I'm gonna make this quick. I really feel like the city council let us down when y'all voted that union in that last meeting. Y'all let us down. Y'all let us completely down. And let me tell you why. Can y'all recall the last 2 years how we've been coming in this dais begging y'all for an answer so our children can stop dying? You did nothing. Y'all did nothing. Y'all even got this advisory board thing or something y'all going on, but you did nothing. Our children kept right on dying. And the minute we get a police chief that's on our side, you can call this police chief. He's coming to your house. I live on Parker. The next street over is Atlantic Avenue. You can actually walk down Atlantic Avenue now. He cleaned that mess up. How about LaSalle? It looked like a baby. New York, that's 8 months ago. He cleaned that mess up. That boy that got killed out in London Oaks, I knew him. Didn't bother nobody, taking care of his mama. Walking through a park and lose his life. It felt good to that boy mama to hear the chief saying, we're sorry for your son's death, but we got the man who killed him. As soon as we start getting results, y'all want the police. And y'all campaigning. You can't think on my color perspective. You can't think that a police union is gonna help us. Look at our history with police unions. And the chief is up here telling y'all it's gonna interfere with my capability of running my department, and y'all still did it. After we sit here and beg y'all for 2 years to stop our children from dying. And this man finally, he got the sheriff. I see him every morning with my grandchild at the bus stop. I can finally walk down Atlantic Avenue without getting shot. My kids can actually sit on our couch now on Parker Avenue without seeing gunshots shooting through our house. What you did last year. You know, because the police chief, he's doing the job. Now y'all want to police him. What, on our back, with our money. Because anytime you have an arbitration, we're going to pay for it. Anytime the firefighters don't get what they want, we're going to pay for it. And I can't figure out one thing that's bothering my heart so bad. That is breaking my heart. How can a black man look like me after a city that's been existing for 250 years, and we just now bringing in a black fire chief? Y'all gonna let them people come against that man for nothing. That's what they're doing. Because you only got 36 black firefighters out of almost 300. And you call that collectively? You got 36 blacks out of the whole fire department. And they only lost confidence in that man because he's black. And y'all know that. Same way they did Chapman when she came in. After 147 years not having a black police chief, they brought her in 8 months after she brought her in. They lost confidence in her. Why is that? Two officers that have been held almost 200 years, two black, one man, one woman, they both got voted loss of confidence. Why is that, man? Y'all failed us. If y'all was campaigning on that, I'm telling you, the city is an uproar for that. So if y'all was campaigning on that, y'all in trouble, I'm telling you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mark Godaldig-Yatrovsky. Mr. Yatrovsky, if you would come forward and state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening,
Good evening, sir.
Mayor, Council, and other neighbors. Happy holidays. Budgeting matters, not just when you're dealing with the mass implementation in the spring of the year, but all year round. There are items that you take up that are submitted by council members randomly that have fiscal implications. But it is rare that I hear anybody ask, well, what is this going to cost us? If we assign the city attorney to research a particular matter, how much time will that require? And time is money. The city assessor, when he or she receives an assignment, how much time will that require? When you get a report from the assessor about the staffing deficiencies in the department and the items that are on their assignment list that can't be done, that can't be accomplished, and then a council member asks for a report back on the last 5 years without any change in the staffing in the office, what does that say? It says you are essentially appropriating money, but that appropriation never goes before the public for comment. That never goes through an approval process other than the spur of the moment. I think you need to be more fiscally responsible. You really need to know when you are asking your appointees to take on tasks that were not budgeted, what the fiscal impact is. And how does this matter? Well, unlike the federal government, the city of Portsmouth cannot print money. So for every dollar you expend, you must have a dollar in revenue. If you have a fixed budget, if you have a budget on an annual basis, then something has to go out when something else comes in. So I would ask you to consider the fiscal impacts, you collectively, to consider the fiscal impacts of what you're doing. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Barry Randall Jenkins. Sir, if you come forward, state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council.
Good evening, sir.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to you all. I'm just here to talk to the citizens of Portsmouth real quickly. I'm paying attention to the votes of how you guys are voting, and it baffles me because I hear you guys discuss tonight about setting rules and things in place in reference to how you're going to fund nonprofits and things of that nature, and I'm watching those that are in favor of it. But then at the last council meeting, the one after me, and no disrespect, because I know some of y'all going to call the young man and say, Barry got up there and talked against you. Because at the last council meeting that I spoke to, a very ugly letter was sent all around the city against me and what have you. But as you all know, it takes a lot to scare me. But anyway, I saw at the last council meeting, because I want to talk about unifying the city very briefly. The last council meeting, we had a gentleman come up and, share his plan and things that he's doing for the community and what have you. The interesting thing, though, was that once he began to talk, he said that he was from Norfolk. And then, and some other things. The thing that got me was because I'm so used to hearing certain council members, and I just want to respect the rules. So I don't want to call no name, not that I'm scared, because I'm not scared of any of you. But certain council members said, city manager, I want you to meet with this guy after the council meeting. I thought that was interesting because normally they said, if it's the wishes of the council, but I guess people politicking. First of all, we need to ask ourselves this question. Why is folk coming from Norfolk, Newport News, and if I just came to a council meeting to tell y'all how somebody's got $40,000 out the city that don't even live here, why would we even ask the city manager to have a conversation with anybody outside the city? First of all, we need to send that person back to Norfolk and say, ask Mayor Ken Alexander and ask your folk over there to help you, because there's plenty of nonprofits over here that could utilize that money. And it's sad because I see and I hear the black term, and we're using all types of terms because we've been playing on our black uninformed citizens for so long. And Vice Mayor Lisa Lucas-Burke, congratulations on your announcement today. I was at the doctor. But I want to say this to all of the citizens out there in Portsmouth today, and I know people are going to be mad with me, but we need a lot of people to run next year. There's 3 now that Vice Mayor's giving up her seat. There's 3 council seats open next year. We need as many integral people as possible to run, because it's too far long that we keep telling people, y'all gonna split the vote. The definition for insanity is doing the same thing over and over, getting the same results. And the problem with Portsmouth, because we love to hear people use the term equity and marginalization and talk that black talk, these black people care nothing but for themselves and their family members. I'm telling you. And it hurt and it saddens me when I'm looking around for our white brothers and sisters, and I'm like, where y'all at? Y'all just gonna leave Bill Moody and Mark Hugo up there by itself? We need to come together. Elizabeth Simmons gone, and it hurt. And I know some of y'all gonna say, oh, he just talking like that because he done married a white man. I promise you, I did not know that man was white until after I fell in love. But I'm telling y'all, the truth of the matter is we need to come together as a city. And we need to make people earn their seat. Whoever's up for re-election, if they win, we need to respect the fact that they won. But we do not need to just let them walk in and get it, because then we're going to keep coming up here complaining, and we're going to keep having these smoking mirrors and white and black. Do y'all not know that we just had a black police officer? See, the chief can't get up here and tell y'all all the facts. So we just had a black police officer charged. This the crazy thing. He wasn't even the one that shot the person, but just because he didn't render aid, he was charged. So at the end of the day, guys, we got to stop playing these games about black and white and what have you, and start looking at people's character and start looking at the intent of their heart. I've been watching a documentary on Pablo Escobar. One of his hitmen was a preacher, was a very profound preacher, but he also was a killer. I don't care what people's titles are, mine included. We need to look at the work that they do, not what they say. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Ms. Sheila Joseph. Ms. Joseph, if you would come forward, state your name and address. You have 5 minutes.
My name's Sheila Joseph at 139 Grand Street, Portsmouth, Virginia, 23702. I wanted to speak a little bit about safety in our city. And the thing I wanted to speak about, I mentioned about health environment. I'm a part of a group of people about justice environment, EJ. What we are doing is asking people to get more involved in their community about the environment. I mentioned about council and different family members in this city, and some that was in this city left. And nobody responded to me about that. And I did remember sending an email to you. I don't even know if you read it yet. But I'm very concerned because I once had cancer. I'm a survivor. And it was 33 years ago. And the health environment that we have in this city got a lot of asbestos, lead, and other things that we have in our city. And I remember trying to address with our city manager and have been told to get with me about different things I wanted to talk about. And for whatever reason, from the time she's been sitting in the seat, I just want to bring it to y'all attention. I have asked myself, as well as you, Mark Whitaker, and you, Mr. Barnes, and Mr. Bill, and you, Mayor. I haven't had that opportunity because there's a lot of things that I have on videotapes, and it goes way back in different neighborhoods. And I wanted to share how the shipyard, and a lot of people not aware of, and a lot of people may be Washington Park, Fairwood Home, I'm just naming a few, and over to the old Norcom site, and some others. That environment that we have about asbestos and lead do not sit still. And I'm saying it for a reason, because it travels to different people's homes. Also, I want to talk about mold that is being existent into people's homes. And I will not tell you the locations, but I will say I have documents to show that a lot of people are experiencing that. And far as, again, I'm talking to the public as well as our leaders. We need to come together. The name of my organization is Together We Can Make a Difference, Enterprise, Inc. I do not beg people for money. I just use the skills. Now, I know I qualify, but I use the skills of my son and myself and different other people from other cities that are concerned just like we are, and we write and get information from Congress and the president. Every time they dump a buddy in the areas throughout the United States to address these issues. I know I mentioned about leaded pipe, but nobody followed up and said anything about what y'all gonna do about and where are you gonna do it for us, the leaded pipes removal. So I just wanted to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, and I'm looking forward for us to come more close together. The churches and communities, I'm disappointed how we are not working together as a team. We could get a lot done if we just, get involved in our community, just like they had a crowd tonight over the sport. We need to have a crowd of concerned citizens. A lot of them are tired. They told me. I'm out in the street a lot, and they said they're tired of a lot of stuff not getting done. I'm not going to be discouraged to continue to do what I do. We'll be going to Washington, and I'm just letting everybody know, next month. And we're going to be addressing the assembly next year.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a good day.
Happy holidays. Our next speaker, Mr. Merle Rutledge. If you would come forward, sir, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes.
My name is Merle Rutledge. Virginia is my home. Outside these walls, Virginia is still my home. Whether I have a home or not, my soul bleeds in Virginia. My soul bleeds Virginia. my heart and mind and spirit continues to love Virginia in every kind of way, regardless of people's race, background, or their ego. There comes a time when somebody has to step up, regardless of whether they have a title or they're a private citizen or just a regular average Joe on the sidewalk. Whether they are Democrat or Republican, or whether they're white or black, or whatever have you, to say that some things need to be said because it's necessary, not because of fear, but because it's the truth that people are scared of. To every one of you, whether it's Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Norfolk, every single area is going through the same problems. This is the riot, people. There's one thing I'm very experienced at is recognizing a riot. See, riots don't always come with people burning down buildings, people fighting each other, or yelling and screaming. See, the riot right now is what you don't hear because, see, we know somebody famous said the voice of the unheard is the riot. See, it's silence now. Why am I calling it a riot? Because y'all stopped hearing and paying attention to the voices that you wanted to ignore, even though they told you the truth over and over again. The riot is no longer with people destroying statues, it's about politicians destroying people's lives. Y'all have a chance to change this just like I do every single day I wake up. I can stay silent and I can stay quiet, but that's not going to stop the fact that people right now are looking for leaders that don't care anything about their political party. They care about the people and the love of the people that they represent. See, money ain't going to buy your way into heaven, but it could surely give you hell. See, what I want y'all to understand, this is a state of emergency that y'all should declare, every city should declare. This ain't about just statues being destroyed. This ain't just about people being killed. This is about people losing their soul, losing their heart, losing their hope, losing their fight, losing their ability to believe that opportunity is achievable, not detention homes and jails and prisons and funeral homes. See, I was built with no fear. I have came through the fire. I've been through the trials and tribulations. I have been through every enemy or every person that has tried to say I can't. But guess what? I still say I can. Martin Luther King and so many leaders that you believe in right now would be ashamed if we didn't speak up right now. See, our kids been long ignored, but also at the same time frame, we are the kids grown up. Do we want this continuous pattern to happen? See, we put the mask on, we put the sheets on. See, the KKK was just a name. Right now, we are the KKK if we continue to ignore the riot that's going on right now. People are hungry. Crime is out of control. Leaders are fighting with each other. And that's the example that our people see in this room. This is the riot. And the best thing we can do for a riot, where people ain't speaking no more, because after a while, they're not going to speak to you because you didn't hear them. They are not going to hear you when you want them to stop. This is that explosion. Declare a state of emergency that says exactly that because of that pandemic, if you lock people in the cage, this is exactly how they behave. God bless you and God bless America.
Thank you,
we
sir.
We must not ignore it.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker, Mr. Armando Grande Gomez. Sir, please state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes.
tried to have that Spanish accent with that one, didn't you, Mr. Mayor? See. Good evening, everybody. Mr. Rutledge is actually the reason I'm coming tonight. He didn't know that. But when I watched him the previous meeting, and then you all are also the reason I'm here tonight. And I want to be respectful, but I want to start it off this way. He's a hard act to follow, so I'm going to do it this way. You all, or some of you, when one of you was not here, but took a major vote. And some of you that took the vote, also, I want everybody to look to your left on the dais. Turn to your left. You took, and one of your head administrator, you all gave the middle finger to. You gave a big middle finger. And then some of you also gave a big middle finger to another leader, your fire chief. Some of you gave a middle finger to your police chief, a big middle finger. You're like, Mr. Gomez, what are you talking about? What did you give a middle finger to? It wasn't any of us out here that gave the middle finger. It was some of you that decided to say, we're going to cavalier and say, you know what? We don't care about facts. We don't care about what you say. We don't care about anything. We care about how we feel. Because it's all about how we feel. What I personally know. Some people, I think a few of you up there, a couple of you may be veterans. Let's talk about that too. I'm a veteran too. I do know for a fact, and so do you, when we put on that uniform, we didn't have the right to collectively bargain. We didn't have a right to unionize. It was you do as I say. It was command and control. Do as I say or I put your hind parts out. Now, when you put off that uniform and you might have worked in another capacity, some people, I was in a union, so I'm not against collective bargaining. I want to be crystal clear. What I am is not lost on me, and that just because I was part of a union, I'm not going to center myself and say, and not recognize what historical inadequacies that labor has had, especially for people that look like me. Well, you might say, well, people that look like you, don't let the light skin fool you. I'm a black man. Don't let it fool you. It's not lost on me that labor unions look down upon people that look like me, and especially when they center themselves based on gender. It's largely for labor when it's okay when you're coming to collectively bargain. I want to talk to the people of Portsmouth tonight. That's who I want to talk to. I want to talk to them because, see, it's not lost on me that when I'm not against public safety. I am not. But I have watched. There's a documentary. How many of you have Netflix out there? Raise your hand. How many of you up there have access to Netflix? Good. There's a documentary called 137 Shots. I want you to watch it when you go home this weekend. 137 shots. If you're not familiar with it, you will be. Watching some folks get shot 137 times. And if you, as a black person, I'm going to say a black appearing person, because just because you look like me, Zora Neale Hurston said, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So I want to be crystal clear. Just because you appear to look like me, blackness is also a consciousness. We're not going to do a litmus test. And I'm not here to take shots at anybody. No pun intended. What I am going to say to you is, instead of looking to your left and saying to your chief administrator, who says, maybe we need to talk about having a conversation again about collectively bargaining, giving the middle finger, leadership is not just because you say you're a leader. Leadership is not just because you can say, look at who I am and my position I hold. Leadership is about having robust community engagement with the people, and not just because you're running, when you're not running. People believe what you do and not what you say. And 137 shots, if you can look at me and say, well, you know what, I watched people get shot 137 times and I don't have a care in the world because it doesn't affect me. You know what, violence will affect every one of us. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And when it happens to you, and life happens to all of us in this room, it does. And when it does come for you, and violence, and touches you or a family member or a loved one, and I hope it doesn't. But when it does, remember how the mothers that I've watched come up here during the meetings and cry, and some of us are performative and we pretend to care. Leaders really care. Leaders don't cavalierly take a vote and say, I'm just gonna have collectively bargaining because I'm up for running for a position. What it is, what a real leader does is say, you know what, I'm gonna have robust community engagement. What do these people may not know? Maybe half of them don't know what collective bargaining is about. I don't know. I'm not gonna presume, but it is your responsibility because they trust you, because they elected you to say, is this right for our city? Especially when your police chief, your head administrator, and your fire chief are saying, not because I'm a progressive, or I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Republican, or I was a veteran. Screw that. Progressives aren't doing anything for people that look like me. It's all performative. And I'm not even going to get into the other side of the aisle. This is not an ideological discussion. This is you as elected leaders. And that's what I want to leave you with. 137 shots.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our speakers for this evening. With no additional business to conduct, this meeting is adjourned.